G'day guys and welcome to this week's edition of the Before You Bet Racing Preview, taking a look at all of the horse racing at Caulfield and Randwick this Saturday, October 10th, where we have 5 Group 1s across Australia. We have 1 at Randwick and a blockbuster day at Caulfield featuring 4 Group 1s. I'm your host Tim Geers, joined as always by Trent Crebbin. We're brought to you by PlayUp.com.au. And Trent, this is probably one of the bigger days you've ever faced doing the Melbourne Form.
Yeah, it is one of the biggest days in Melbourne with the Caulfield Guineas, the start of the Caulfield Carnival. I think this probably rivals Derby Day as the hottest day of racing in Melbourne. So it's some great races all throughout the day. The Group 1s are all there's a lot of talent scattered throughout those Group 1s, and I think it's going to be a tricky day, but I think we're going to find some winners.
Yeah, can't wait to get stuck in. We're just going to keep it to one video this week. We're going to quickly take you through our best bets for both Randwick and Caulfield, and we're going to take a very quick look at all 5 Group 1s on the agenda. So we'll start things off over in Melbourne, and we'll get straight into our best bets at Caulfield. And Trent, your best bet comes up in race number 3. You're with the trusty Cerise and White Windstorm, currently $2.30 with PlayUp.
Yeah, I've been on the wrong side of Windstorm every single race in Melbourne. I tipped him first up and he went down. Tipped him second up. We both declared him second up and he went down. And I jumped off last start and he won. But I think he's well suited here at 1,400 metres again. He looks to get the same kind of setup that he got last start. I think he's just a better horse off just an even tempo, which he didn't get too back. He was a fast tempo. And I think that kind of dulls his sprint a little bit. He has to chase a long way out. I think if they just go on even tempo here, which I think they probably will with Cuba just rolling around in front, I think he'll be able to show off his turn of foot, and he does look to map well from barrier 5. So I think he's going to be too strong there in race 3 at Caulfield.
Beautiful. I'd love to see him win again. I was on the right side of the ledger with him last start after declaring him 2 starts ago. We'll move on to your best value bet of the day, and it's race number 10, the lucky last, and you're with horse number 10, Gaelic Chieftain, currently $17. Third up the key here?
Absolutely. Third up is the key. Just looking through his record, he's had 53 starts in his career for 9 wins, and astonishingly 4 of those have come when he's third up. So he's basically 50-50 when he goes third up. He's 4 from 9, I believe. And I think he's looking to peak again here in the Herbert Power at 2,400 metres to get his way into the Caulfield Cup next week. He ran second up in the Naturalism last over 2,000 metres, settled just off midfield and just got shuffled back at a crucial time, ended up last coming around the turn, got a little bit lost trying to balance up. But once he did get balanced up in that last 200 metres, he really took ground off them late. He was still beaten 4.5 lengths, but you just look, he always improves dramatically when he gets to that third up stage of his preparation. He's run very good in some Group 1s when he's third up, and I just think here he gets a little bit of a weight swing on the favourite Order of the Garter, who will be hard to beat again. But I just thought at the $17, just with that third up pattern horse that he is, I thought he was a good chance at value in the last.
Yeah, I think the other thing to mention about him here is that he gets the blinkers back on, which seems to be, this is the pattern they've found for this horse. If you look back through his last few preparations, last year at this stage, he ran in the Metropolitan and he was third up with the blinkers on. He ran second beaten a nose. Last preparation, he ran in the Chairman's Quality over 2,600, again in Sydney. Third up, blinkers went back on. He ran 4th in that race. And they were going to do the same thing this year around. He was meant to run in the Metropolitan last weekend, but of course, the border was closed to the Victorian horses until after acceptances for that race. So they come here instead. Third up, blinkers back on. I think you're onto something there, and he looks a good bet at the $17 currently on offer with PlayUp. We'll shift over to Randwick now. Speaking of Sydney, I should say, and we'll get into my best bets of the day before we jump into these 5 Group 1s on the agenda. My best bet comes up in one of the Group 1s. We'll just pass on that one for a second so we can take a little bit of a deeper look at it. So we'll start off with my best value bet of the day. This comes up in race number 6, which is the Silver Eagle, featuring the likes of Alligator Blood. I think the $26 about horse number 4, Chat, here is slightly over the odds, with only a limited number of horses in the field. We're getting paid for 3 places this year, and I think $26 and around $4 or $5 for the place is a decent bet here about Chat. Now, of course, Alligator Blood and Co, they're going to be very hard to beat, but I thought Chat resumed with a terrific first up win. And leading into that race, I made mention of how his trials were really, really good. I think he's a different horse this preparation. I think he's a much improved horse. As I said, he backed up those fantastic trials with a fantastic win first up, coming from a long way off the pace. And as I said, with that improvement, this preparation, I wouldn't be surprised to see him measure up, not necessarily as a winning chance here against the likes of Alligator Blood, but I think he can fill a hole at $26 and around $5 the place. So with that price on offer, I'm going to make him my best value bet of the day. That's race number 6, the Silver Eagle, horse number 4, Chat. We'll get into the Group 1s now, and we'll start off with the sole Group 1 in Sydney, which is the Spring Champion Stakes over 2,000 metres, and this is where my best bet of the day comes up. I personally think this is probably a 2-horse race between Love Tap and Montefilia. Love Tap was the last start winner of the Gloaming Stakes. Montefilia, of course, took out the Group 1 last weekend for the fillies. And she's on the quick backup here, stepping up to 2,000 metres, that being, of course, the Flight Stakes. Now, history tells us that the winners of the Gloaming Stakes and the winners of the Flight Stakes typically measure up well in this race. I'm just going to side with the gelding Love Tap. I've been with him most of his 4 career wins to date, and I'm going to stick with him here. I think his win in the Gloaming was probably better than it looks. He was forced to lead on that occasion, but I don't think that was necessarily the plan. Nash Ruler just gave him a little dig out of the gates, and I think the horse kind of just took hold of him and took him to the front. Again, I don't think that was the plan. He still won comfortably enough. I thought it was a really good effort, and I think from barrier 14 here, they'll be looking to ride him slightly quieter, especially stepping up to the 2,000 metres. So I would be surprised to see him lead today. I don't think that's his best go, but I thought basically his raw ability got him over the line in the Gloaming Stakes. He's a really exciting horse, a horse I've been with since his debut win, and I'm going to stick with him here, Love Tap, in the Group 1 Spring Champion Stakes. Now, Montefilia, she draws barrier 1. Interestingly, they did declare a change of tactics last start before the Flight Stakes, hoping to ride her further closer to the speed. That didn't eventuate. She settled out the back and still proved too good for Hungry Heart. On that occasion, she's definitely a chance here. As I've said, the winners of the Flight Stakes, we've seen it before, them come to this race and prove very hard to beat on the quick backup. So I'm not completely dismissing her chances at all, but I thought at the prices I'd rather be in the corner of Love Tap. Now, I think it's a 2-horse race, but Trent, I know you're pretty keen to follow through on the Melbourne form here in the form of Cherry Tortoni, horse number 1.
Yeah, perhaps just a little bit of Melbourne bias because I have followed this horse quite closely. I just thought that he was a good chance. You're getting a good each way price around $6.50 or so. I just think he's really going to be suited stepping up to 2,000 metres for the first time this prep. I thought it was a smart decision to come here from Melbourne, avoid the Caulfield Guineas where it might be potentially wet sticking at the 1,600 metres. So he's really going to appreciate the 2,000. Draws nicely in barrier 4. I think he can settle midfield. I think on his way to a Victorian Derby, I think he's a very good chance. Montefilia is probably the hardest to beat for me, but barrier 1 does scare me a little bit, but she's going to love 2,000 metres as well. Hard to knock. Love Tap obviously puts himself in the race, and it's very hard to knock there. The other one I thought that could run a big race was Alvarado as well. He's going to love 2,000 metres, and I think he just peaked on his run last start at Flemington.
$26 there at PlayUp for Alvarado. I've made Love Tap my best bet of the day. He's currently $3.60 with PlayUp. We'll shift over to Melbourne now because Trent's got 4 Group 1s on the card. It's a huge day in Melbourne, as we've said, at Caulfield. The first of the Group 1s is race number 6, and it's the Group 1 Caulfield Stakes, weight for age 2,000 metres. We see probably Australia's most exciting horse here in the form of Russian Camelot. Trent, $1.50. Does he just win again?
Yeah, you'd think so. He does just win again. He was absolutely backed off the map last start. We were kind of hoping that you'd get a little bit better than $2 on the day to absolutely launch, but he was truckloaded in betting. He went forward. He put the race away very, very, very stylishly. It's hard to see anything really turning the tables. We both know of my love for Arcadia Queen. I thought she was probably racing on the inferior ground there. And very interesting to note that she gets the bar plates off first time for this preparation. I think that's really going to help her get over those feet issues that she's had. So I thought she could perhaps peg back a bit of the margin, but it's hard to see them turning the tables on Russian Camelot. I thought the one that could maybe spice up your trifectas or anything was number 1, Galo Chop. He was only beaten 2.5 lengths by Russian Camelot last start, and he just hasn't had the opportunity to lead yet this prep, which is clearly where he does his best racing. I think up to 2,000 metres now, there's no pressure really here at all. So I think he's going to be leading this field, and he could definitely run top 3. But yeah, Russian Camelot, very hard to beat, $1.50. It's not really something you want to get too stuck into.
We all know how sick Trent's love affair with Arcadia Queen is, and Trent has been saying to me for about the last 3 months straight, as soon as Arcadia Queen gets the bar plates off, launch at her. But she's probably just found one too good today. Hard to see Russian Camelot getting beat. $1.50, no spoilers there, but I think he's quite clearly your winner. Race number 7 is the first of the Guineas races, the Group 1 1,000 Guineas for the 3-year-old fillies over 1,600 metres. Interesting little setup race here because we see the runner-up of last weekend's Flight Stakes, Hungry Heart, make the trip to Melbourne for the quick backup 1 week later here in the 1,000 Guineas. I dare say if she had won the Flight Stakes last weekend, they wouldn't be venturing down to Melbourne, but she was run over the top by Montefilia and she makes her way down to Melbourne to line up here in the 1,000 Guineas. Do you have her on top?
Yeah, I do have her on top. It was a bit sick watching that Flight Stakes. I thought she was home. Montefilia just proved to be a little bit stronger at the end of 1,600 metres off a fast tempo and just got over the top of her late. She gets the blinkers first time here. Hugh Bowman riding in Melbourne for the first time this spring as well. Drawn barrier 3. I think if she jumps with them, she's going to be forward of midfield. And I think she's probably just the class runner of this field and should be hard to beat. Also want to have something on number 5, Vangelic, coming out of the Flight Stakes as well. She led that field, copped quite a bit of pressure from a few that surprisingly went forward. And I thought she ran really well, was only beaten 2 lengths by Hungry Heart. I think this was always in the back of their mind for the Waterhouse bot stable with Vangelic to back her up into the 1,000 Guineas, whereas I don't think it was an original plan for Hungry Heart. So I think Vangelic can go straight to the front here, cross from barrier 10, and I think she can give a good kick and would be really well suited to Caulfield. So at around, the double figure quote you're getting, I think you can easily back both.
How do you assess the chances of Instant Celebrity? Obviously, he hasn't put much of a foot wrong to date. Is currently rated $3.40, very closely behind Hungry Heart there in the play-up markets.
Yeah, look, I think she's probably the best of the Melbourne fillies. I'm not really sure about how that form stacks up compared to the Sydney Flight Stakes. I thought she was given a great ride in the prelude of a 1,400 metres by Craig Williams. It was kind of just an even tempo. He put her into the race at the perfect time, and she held them off quite easily. There was a wall behind her for second, a very bunch finished in behind her, and she didn't completely gap them. She only won by a length. I've got queries on her stepping up to 1,600 metres. I know she was going 11 up to 14 last start, but now she has to make the jump up to 1,600, draws barrier 9, so she's going to be a long way back again. And I just thought that, at the same price, or roughly for Hungry Heart, I thought Instant Celebrity was too short here, in my opinion.
Very good. So Hungry Heart on top for both me and Trent there in the Group 1,000 Guineas, and Vangelic a little bit of value there at $10 with PlayUp. We'll move on to the boys. Race number 8, the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas, 1,600 metres, stallion making race. A little bit of spice to this race as well because we see the Group 1 Golden Rose winner, Ole Kirk. He makes the trip down to Melbourne to take his spot. Along with the place getter King's Legacy. They're currently $3.40 and $6 respectively. Moonga, there's been a lot of talk about this horse from the Chris Wallace stable, currently 3 from 3. He's $7. And the Group 1 Blue Diamond winner, Tagaloa, currently $6 with PlayUp. How do you see this race?
Yeah, I found this the toughest of the Group 1s for sure, and one of the tougher races on the card. I found it quite tough to really get an edge. I think Ole Kirk's a deserved favourite. His Golden Rose win was very good. He had to change path a couple times in the straight, shouldered his way clear and was really strong through the line. I don't think 1,600 metres is going to be a problem off that run, so I think he's the horse to beat, and I think he draws quite well in barrier 7. King's Legacy, I think, is going to be really suited, stepping up to 1,600 metres, the distance that he won his Group 1 Champagne Stakes at. Draws barrier 12 here, so I think he's going to get a long way back, and I thought he had every favour in the Golden Rose. He did get back to last, but he kind of just snuck up along the fence, and I thought Ole Kirk's run 2 lengths ahead of him was better. Moanga's the real X factor, and he's a very tough one to line up. He's obviously looked very flashy in his wins coming out of the Dulcify. The horses that he beat there were beaten up in the Golden Rose. He was beating a horse like Global Quest by 1.5 lengths, who was beaten about 9 lengths, I think, in a Golden Rose. So you can make a case that off those kind of margins, he's too short, but you only have to have eyes to see what he's doing is the style of a very good horse. And I think, he's a definite chance. Is just very tricky to line up. Tagaloa comes out of the Rupert Clark. I thought he ran really well, was wide on speed. Not sure 1,600 metres is going to be ideal for him. He hasn't really gone past 1400 meters before. He's an obvious chance and probably the number one seed of the Melbourne horses, but I'm just not sure that he's quite up to those Sydney standard of horses here.
Hey, give me your thoughts really quick. Obviously, the favourite Ole Kirk was announced during the week that William Pike has been booked to ride. Barrier 7, give me your thoughts quickly on that booking.
Yeah, a lot of people when Pike came over to Melbourne were saying that he's no good. He's never performed in Melbourne. I stuck up for him because you can see how talented he is over in Perth, but I thought he's had enough time to settle in now and he hasn't really delivered. He hasn't been terrible, but I think he's probably just a touch outclassed behind those elite Melbourne jockeys like your Mark Zahras and Damien Olivers. So, like, I don't mind the booking. He's still a very good jockey. I think he draws well in Barrier 7. I don't think it's a tricky ride. He should just be able to settle one off the fence or in the 3 wide line and just get to present him at the right time. So I don't think he has to make too many decisions. It's probably not the ideal jockey selection, but I don't have too much of a knock on it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he's not in that elite class, but I think things are obviously very different back in WA where in metropolitan level anyway, you're only riding at 2 tracks basically all year. He's on a lot of V8s against, 4-cylinder horses from the Grant Milana Williams team. Obviously, most of them have V8 engines. He's allowed to kind of just flop out of the barriers, find his spot, and then just run home over the top. And he's probably just struggling with that tactical difference over in Melbourne, where the tempos are different. The jockeys are obviously a much better class than what we've got over here. And I don't think he's going terribly by any stretch of the imagination. But obviously, look, I'm hoping he gets his first Group 1 here aboard Ole Kirk. From a betting point of view, I'm keen to stick with King's Legacy at $6. Had something on him at big odds in the Golden Rose, and I think third up, grand final stable, 1,600 metres is going to suit this horse big time. Mo'unga, I'm not really sure what to make. I echo your thoughts there with the query over the form, but CJ Waller, D. Oliver in a stallion-making race, I could definitely make a case for him, and I won't be losing on him for sure. I'm probably going to leave my betting till closer to the race. I think the one I'm really happy to take on is Tagaloa. I think $6 is way under the odds, especially when King's Legacy is at $6 and Mo'unga is $6.50 or $7. So, yeah, I'll be leaving my betting late, but the horse that interests me most is King's Legacy in the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas. We'll move on to the final Group 1 of the day. It's the race 9 on the card at Caulfield. It's the Group 1 Toorak Handicap, another one over 1,600 metres. Deep field, fascinating betting race. A couple of your boyfriends going around here in this race, Trent. We'll start off with Buffalo River, comes up $4 favourite, and I think you're pretty keen to have him on top.
Yeah, I've definitely got Buffalo River on top. I'm just in my kind of selections. Bit filthy, I missed the price about him. He was sitting at about $9 all in just earlier in the week. He went up about $5.50 in the final field and he got crunched straight into about $3.70 or so. He's just getting out a touch now out to $4, which I think is probably a fair price. I think, especially if you get out to kind of closer towards $4.50 on the day, I think that's very fair. I just think he went too slow first up. Did a bit of work early at the 1,400 meter start at Caulfield, but then he just kind of slackened at mid-race, which is not the way to ride him. And the trainers come out and said that probably wasn't the way to ride him. He's much better when he's rolling at a fast tempo, just kind of breaking their hearts. And I think that's going to occur here. That's what they've said they're going to do. And there's a bit more pressure on pace. The likes of Age of Chivalry and Cerconi will ensure it's a pretty fast run tempo. And I think that's just going to bring out the best of him with 53 kilos, Willow on board, barrier 5. He ticks a lot of boxes, Buffalo River. The next horse in the market there is number 13, Juniper. I've got no knock on him whatsoever. You just can't back them all, really. I just had Buffalo River a touch better at their best, I think. But Juniper is flying. I couldn't talk you out of him at all. Did you have any preference between the two kind of favoured runners in the market there?
Oh, not a whole lot. No, not really. I think Buffalo River is probably going to give himself every chance. Barrier 5 jumping straight to the front. I thought his run first up was good. I've always kind of thought Juniper wasn't quite a Group 1 horse, but he is absolutely flying this preparation. Between the two, I'd probably be with Buffalo River, but keen to get your thoughts on Superstorm, another boyfriend of yours. Stepped up from 1,400 metres to 2,000 metres last start. Drops back down here to the mile on the 1 week backup.
Yeah, I took him on in the Turnbull last week, just thinking that the 1,400 metres up to 2,000 probably wasn't quite a good enough platform to do it. And I thought he still ran quite well coming from a long way back. and was only beaten about 3 lengths there. Sorry, even 2 lengths there. And I think just dropping back to the 1600 meters here is really going to suit. We saw it in the autumn with Regal Power going up to 2000 meters and dropping back to 1600 meters for the All-Star Mile. Worked very well. He managed to get the win there, narrowly over Superstorm here. So I think that might have just been their plan the whole time, is to get him up to 2000 and drop him back to a fast run 1600 meter race. And I think this just looks a really ideal target for Superstorm. Draws wide, so he's going to get back again. That's the obvious query. But I think he should get the tempo and the fitness kind of base that he's got now. He should be able to run on really strongly. And if they are coming off the fence this late in the day, I think he's a really big chance.
Talk to me about this horse that you're keen to mention, Chief Ironside. Currently $21. I know you've got a little bit of time for him here.
Yeah, I thought you could have something on Chief Ironside. He had around that $20 mark. Thought he ran quite well first up in the Cameron Handicap at Newcastle. Just kind of faded that last 100 meters or so behind a rock, an impressive winner who ran very well in the Epsom last week as well. The key to this horse is second up. He just always goes a lot better second up. I think he's 2 from 4. His win this time last year in the Group 2 Crystal Mile at Moonee Valley when second up was very good. He beat a handy field there. The likes of Dreamforce or so were in that field. He's had a Cheekover trial that he won in between that first up run at Newcastle. Comes here, draws barrier 3, Hugh Bowman on board. I think he'll be right there on speed. And I thought he just maps really nicely, probably lead us back. And I thought you could do something worse and have something on him.
Okay, let's try and simplify it a bit. If you were betting, which way would you be going here?
Look, I think you can really back all 3. So the main play would be Buffalo River, just hoping to get closer to $4.50 there, but I still think $4 is probably fair. Definitely having something on Superstorm. He's probably my best result in the race just at the prices, and having something very small, Chief Ironside.
I wonder if today is the day that Cascadian is given a chance and comes out and wins. Barrier 6. He doesn't help himself with his racing pattern, but a couple of the steers he's copped this prep have been a bit ordinary. $13 or thereabouts. I think you could do worse than him. The way I'd be playing would be something small on Cascadian. I'm with you on Superstorm, buttering up again. $9 available there, like the setup. And I just think this horse is short of really top quality. Superstorm comes out of, the genuine A-grade races. Back to an easier race. I think $9 is a good price about him. And then, I'd probably be saving on the likes of Buffalo River or Juniper or something thereabouts to try and figure it out closer to the race. But early, I'd be playing Cascadian and Superstorm. That's the way I'd be going. Any other thoughts on any of the Group 1s or any of the racing?
No, I think that's it. I think I'm backing in Pikey to kind of turn his form around on the Cerise and White. I hope he gets Arcadia Queen home as well. Not that I'll probably be backing her. I say that, but I probably will end up having something on her just in case.
You definitely will be.
I always do. The last minute I'll get cold feet and put something on her. But it should be a really good day of racing at Caulfield and Randwick, and can't wait to chat to you next week.
Yep, guys, all our previews for the big weekend will be on beforeyoubet.com.au. Stay tuned early next week. We hope to have some really big news for you towards the early part of next week, if not the middle of the week, ahead of what's set to be a terrific weekend. Next weekend, of course, we've got the Everest and the Caulfield Cup Day. So we hope to be able to drop some news for you early next week ahead of what should be a really great spring carnival. Until next week, good luck, and you can find all our stuff on beforeyoubet.com.au. Gamble responsibly.